I know Stewart's.
Good evening and welcome to a special meeting of the South Orange Planning Board for Tuesday, February 11th. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kultamax?
Here.
Mr. Larner?
Here.
Mr. Rosner?
Here.
Mr. Hutt?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Reverend Wilson? Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mr. Goldstein?
Here.
And Mr. Lerman?
Here.
Good. Thank you. This is to state that pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, PL 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining.
Because this was a regularly scheduled meeting that was adjourned, that wouldn't apply. I think we can simply state for the record that adequate notice of the meeting was supplied in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act.
Good. Thank you. The approval, next agenda item is the approval of minutes of the regular meeting held on December 18th, 2013. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Regarding the minutes, why did, do you have also, we're going to do the resolution, you may.
He has to talk at a mic.
Sure, come on up. Okay, well, so you can talk about the minutes here briefly before we take a vote on it. Okay? Sure.
Good evening, my name is Uli Kremer. I live at 5 Elm Court, just across Seton Hall. So thanks for letting me briefly talk to you. So before you take a vote on the minutes and the resolution regarding the Seton Hall Student Center, I would like to make sure that you include some issues that were very important to us as neighbors and that were discussed at the previous planning board meeting. These points are, number one, we were assured by Seton Hall that the fence along South Orange Avenue will not be opened up as a construction entrance. I asked Seton Hall witnesses twice about this, and he explicitly said that no such entrance will be constructed. We are concerned because last spring and summer the fence was opened up as a construction entrance for over 6 months, with significant impact to us and the neighborhood. So that's the point that I want you to address in the minutes. With regards to the landscaping, we would like to find out the status of the discussion with the board planner. During the last planning meeting, the board planner had suggested to drop the service road by 30 inches and to build a retaining wall in order to obscure the loading dock and service road. We want to make sure that this is mentioned in the minutes and listed as a condition for approval in the resolution. Third point. Yeah.
I believe that drop was a proposal that was going to be worked out with the engineers, no?
Can you say a little bit about what the status is at this point?
I don't know if we know.
There is right now no response yet, as I understand it, from the applicant with regard to the proposal from Higher Gruel. And as far as I know, that proposal was made post-meeting.
But the minutes state that this is in the process and this will be kind of considered as stated.
Only because the minutes only reflect what happened at the meeting, so it wouldn't be there.
Okay. Another issue I have is what recourse will we as neighbors have if Seton Hall does not comply with its testimony and or the resolution that you will pass tonight? Would we bring up any violations to the planning board? What's our recourse?
Violations? Existing violations?
For example, they open a fence for construction. They said they wouldn't, but they do it.
There's a lot of ways to take that up, I imagine, when it happens, and, we're not here to predict the future.
Well, let's assume it happens. That's my question.
What would you do? I would think you would talk to some of our zoning or our building officials.
So that would mean I would talk to the zoning person. I would not talk to you as a planning board?
That's correct.
So it would be a zoning violation of some sort?
Or a violation of the resolution, or
Right.
you would make it known to the appropriate people that you felt that this was a violation of the resolution.
Okay. And finally, I would like to ask your permission to submit my written statement. I read it last time, so there's nothing new here. But I just want to submit it for the record, that you have it and attach it.
If you read it, it'll be in the minutes.
Pardon?
If you read it, it'll be on the videotape.
Right, but I would submit it in writing.
Actually, we can't accept documents that weren't submitted and admitted into evidence during the meeting at this point because the vote was taken already. But if it was submitted at that time, it's an exhibit. If it wasn't submitted, if it was read in, it's
I think
part-
it
it's part of
wasn't
the videotape.
admitted because it wasn't previously, I don't think we did admit it. I don't think we did not make it an exhibit, did we, at the time?
But if he testified, if
What we say, if he
if I
read it.
remember, he did read it in,
It'll
so
be
it would
part of
be
the
in the
public
record
record.
of the video.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which
it's on
really,
the
the
video.
video
We
supersedes
don't, our minutes
basically the
don't
we're approving.
necessarily transcribe the meeting. In other words, it's not verbatim every word that's spoken. But there is a public video that is part of the public
Right.
record. So
So
you're,
whatever is on that video is the same as if I would have given you this in
that's
Yes, sir.
correct.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much for your time.
So, I'm not sure about the minutes in terms of the additional opening in the fence. I don't know whether, I didn't read it with that much closeness. I don't know if anybody noticed it, but
Does the board recall that as being part of the testimony that was at the meeting? That the fence had been opened at some point?
or that Seton Hall, again, if Seton Hall testified that they would not open the fence during construction, then you can take that as fact in terms of the public record, whether or not it's mentioned in these minutes. I think that's true, right?
Sure, it'll be part of the record if it was.
So
mentioned at
again,
the
our
meeting.
minutes are not intended to be,
You can't speak.
you have to come up here, yeah.
As neighbors, we really would appreciate it if it's explicitly in there. If it doesn't matter to you, it matters to the neighbors. It would be really good to have it there, out, clear, so that
Well,
If
the
a
only
validation
problem,
happened, I don't
the
wanna-
only problem I have with that, and I understand your concern, is that even though we try and be as comprehensive as we can when we write the minutes, I don't think any board member can actually testify that they remember that being in the, we're sort of taking your word, so to speak. You know, we don't have the benefit of checking a public transcript right now. So I would have to say that at this point, you need to be satisfied with what has been recorded. We're going to look at our minutes and prove the minutes, because I don't want to put in the minutes something now just based on your.
I understand that. The
Your
only option would be, to
Yeah.
postpone the vote on it and check.
So I think, again, and I know it's a very, very critical issue to you, and I don't want you to necessarily feel as if I'm sidestepping anything, but at this point, I think you have to understand, you have the public record, the videotape, download it, whatever you can to make it record that you have. If you see any problems with that, then you realize that then they've gone against that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, having said that, I heard a, did we get it? Yeah,
You had a motion.
A motion.
You had a motion from Michael.
and we had a second.
And a second from
Okay, so
Reverend Wilson.
Can we get a verbal vote on that? All in favor of the minute? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
One abstention.
One abstention, thank you. Whose?
Mine.
Yeah, okay. All right. We have a couple of items here that I think we're going to postpone. One is the election of officers for the board. As the public may not know, this is my last meeting, or perhaps the meeting in March will be my last meeting as the chairman. And now we have to appoint a new chairman and vice chairman. But there's a little bit of confusion about the new composition of the board. So the other item, oaths of office, I think we're going to postpone as well to the next meeting until we have certainty about who are we swearing in. Is that right, Pat?
What is the confusion? May I ask what the confusion is? I mean, you have somebody here who somehow believes he's been appointed, and we've already discussed that you were, I mean, I'm just confused as to what the confusion is.
Well, we don't have, there are other board members that aren't here, I think. And there may be board members that are here that will no longer be here on the board.
Can I go home then?
No, it's good practice.
No, I know, but I
Oh.
can. I'm not a board member, and there's a requirement that I.
Well, I don't know if you are.
I don't know what I was told that I was going to
Could
be
you
sworn in.
Yeah,
I was
you don't-
told that I was going to be sworn in and that
Okay.
I should be here.
Yes, no, I can actually. So the appointments and the decisions all have been made. Calls were made from the president or the village president today to the individual members. There has been a little confusion with two of the positions, whether or not what, I guess, decision there was going to be made, and we're waiting for those decisions to actually just kind of go through for us to figure out exactly the positions of where they're going to be lying. The president would like to ask, or the village president would like to ask that we postpone at least the selection of the new chair until the next one, until all the members have been solidified and onto the board.
Okay, so we can swear in Michael. We able to do that?
Michael
Lerman?
Lerman?
Michael Lemon? Yep.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well, we're being told that we, by,
Well,
you know,
but technically, some of our terms have expired,
Right.
so we're sitting here
Right.
unappointed.
Right. That's
I
true.
think
Michael has
technically
definitely, you have
everybody's
been definitely
No, no, I know
reappointed.
that.
Yeah, Daniel has definitely been reappointed. We're waiting just to hear back from other board members onto their decision. We've been given kind of where they're thinking, but we haven't heard an official, and we're waiting for that.
so let's accomplish something. So we can swear in, so anybody who's been reappointed, we have to swear in, or just new members?
Well, I would swear in, I mean, Michael and Daniel can definitely be sworn in at this moment.
And Michael Lerman? Or not?
At this, we may want to just hold off for a little bit, and then we can figure out where we're going with this. I mean,
He made the phone calls.
Well, he's going to be a board member regardless, right, whether he's an alternate or full?
well, right.
So when we swear him in, do they make a distinction between full and alternate?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we have to know who they are.
And I think Mr. Lerman's going to fill a position of a board member that's either stepping down or that's
Right.
not being reappointed, but I don't think that's officially
We're waiting for it, yeah.
happened, so
So,
I don't know that.
So let me
All right,
ask,
so-
let me ask a
Well, hold on,
question.
Show up
hold on,
next
Michael.
meeting.
Hold on a minute, let me ask a
Hold on, hold
question. If everyone serves until a new board is sworn in, then this board is empowered to act. If everyone's terms have expired, and no one new has been appointed, then this board has no right to act.
Well, if it has a quorum, it has a right to act.
Okay, we have people here and there's an agenda, and I just appreciate that we have a public responsibility here if we're going to, how we fulfill that.
Technically, you're right. if I'm not-
As I see it,
Okay, so,
we have, if I see it, we have Adam, Harold, Tom, Mark, the Reverend. We know our sitting members. We have a quorum.
Okay.
so just to summarize, I think Michael Lerman, since I guess there's some ambiguity whether you're going to become a full or an alternate member, we have to swear you into one position or another, is that it?
Yeah, I'd say we go with the 5 people we know are currently members of the planning board and can act. As for everyone else, that we wait until next week.
I can go home.
Well, you can do the reappointments
Why can't we do the
of
reappointment?
the sitting members that have been reappointed
Because
by the
they're
village
being appointed
president,
full.
because they're not filling any empty positions. They're keeping their positions that they have now.
now, if we do an official swearing in for this, at the next meeting for Michael, if he has now heard these cases and begun, he would be able to act on them at the next meeting as well?
No,
No,
he's not a member.
I don't believe so.
But once you're
You
sworn in,
could read
can
the
you read?
transcript.
Oh, right.
You could read the
Okay.
transcript and act, yeah.
But there aren't any cases that are going to be open
The soil
tonight.
disturbance permit only, so.
It's only the soil disturbance permit, so the applications are for completeness, but the hearings won't be opened until the next meeting. So
Here's the
if
issue.
appointed, he would be able to hear
We've had
those
this process
applications.
where we knew people were expiring terms.
Correct.
And it's been my opinion that people whose terms have expired are not eligible to serve until they've been reappointed. We have today gotten word that some people have been reappointed. We're not clear exactly in what position. We're not their alternates or full members, nor, as I understand it, has there yet been anything given to the clerk to certify that reappointment, as far as I know. So, in my estimation, I know that there were 5 sitting members who are here this evening, and they can constitute a quorum, and the board can act. As for everyone else, I don't know. I don't know who they are.
But we know that there are 2 sitting members who are going to be reappointed as full members. You don't think we can swear them in?
As I said, we have an email, but that's all we have. So in order to be sure to protect this board and protect anyone sitting out there, I would recommend that anyone who isn't a sitting member not not act on any application this evening.
Well, let me ask a question. We have a trustee here. Were those
Yes.
positions that we got notified for, that we were reappointed, was that acted on by the board?
You're better off asking Adam. The board doesn't vote on this. This is
Yeah,
the
these are-
presidential appointment.
It's the village president who makes these appointments.
Oh, is it?
It has to be done through an official letter.
Right.
He has put that letter together, which was the basis of how we made these phone calls. Is there an opportunity where, Pat and Tom, I can speak with you outside of the
Yeah,
public
we
for a
can go
second?
into, can we
You
go
can go to
into
closed session for personnel
Can-
reasons if you want to do that.
Okay, can we do that?
We'd have to leave because there are people here. We're going to do that. Want to
Okay.
go to the green room, we can do that.
Okay.
Do you want to do that, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, let's do that. We're going to be in closed session for 5 minutes, and then we'll
Do I have to go?
resume, apparently.
Talking about the whole board?
Adam, is
Tom,
this
we
just the
never,
two
we
of you
never
or the
said
whole
anything
board?
crazy.
You have to just say when you come on.
Okay,
Hi.
we're out of closed session, and
For the sake of the record, there was a brief discussion in partial closed session about personnel. And that will be disclosed at next month's meeting, what was discussed.
right. So again, I think at this point, because there's some confusion about the actual composition of the board in terms of full and alternate members, we're going to stay with our seated members, our sitting members for tonight. Everybody else is welcome to stay, but we don't want to do anything official until we're very sure that we're doing the right official thing, the correct official thing, even though everything that any of the members have heard in writing or emails is going to come to pass. It's just we're going to wait and make sure. So I would say everybody could stay. You can't do anything, but you could hear all these whatever and participate in the board. And I'll get caught up. Good idea. Good to see
Mr.
you.
Chair, then I think you have to redo the adoption of the minutes, because I made the motion, and I guess I'm ineligible to make that motion.
I'm sorry, Michael.
Michael made the motion.
Yeah, Michael's ineligible, I'm
All
sorry.
right, so we'll have to.
Not you, Michael.
Thanks, Michael. See you, man. Okay, so we should probably rewind and redo that, right?
All right, just for the sake of clarity, the issue of whether or not the minutes were to be adopted were involved a member who is one of those whose membership is in question. So maybe the board would like to re-vote on whether or not to adopt the minutes from the December 18 meeting?
Yes, so we're going to rewind that, and we'll get a motion from one of our sitting members. Gant, Adam? Motion to approve the minutes?
Motion?
Got a boy. Second?
Second.
Good, second. And everybody in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, so one abstention. So we now have clarified history, hopefully, for posterity. Now, we also have on this agenda the appointment of professionals. Can this wait till next week, just so that everybody understands what we're going to do, or
Well, just for the record, can you note who the voting members are for the evening, so we're all aware of it?
Sure.
The sitting members would be Mr. Lerner, Mr. Colton Max, Chairman Hutt, Trustee Rosner, Reverend Wilson.
Okay.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the appointment of professionals. I mean, do we now, since we have such a limited group here, I mean,
I would be comfortable if you wanted to hold that over to the reorg meeting, which sounds like it's going to happen next month anyway.
Right. I think that's, everybody would be fresh and
If the
figure it
board's
out.
okay with those
Maybe we can
professionals
tee it
holding
up,
over.
though. Can you tell us what's coming up?
What will happen is that the board will have the opportunity to appoint for the year its secretary, its planner, and its attorney, and possibly a consulting engineer for the year of 2014.
Okay. So you all can think about that and think if there's anybody.
Tom, just to clarify, Eli still is a sitting member. His term isn't up, so he's still a
Oh,
current.
I thought your term was up. I'm sorry, Eli. Your term was not one of those whose was up? My apologies. Eli is a voting, sitting member.
He just materialized. He's much more fleshy now. That's good.
Well, but my term was up too until someone is appointed. We were both alternates, so I assumed that we're still both alternates, right?
We didn't include you as
Didn't your term expire?
no, your term expired, right, Dan? Dan?
Your term expired?
Yeah, so you're not sitting
You're
yet,
not
but
sitting.
Eli's has not.
Oh, okay.
That was the difference.
Sorry, thank you.
Did you say anything? No, we don't. Eli could have abstained. Eli abstained. This isn't fair, honestly. We're more organized than this more normally. Adam, can we do this better next year? Good.
All right.
All right. We're moving on to, so we won't swear in the planner or engineer at this point. We will do that in the next meeting. So the next item on our agenda is the approval of resolution case number 226, Seton Hall University, University Center, Block 1901, Lot 3, 400 South Orange Avenue. The preliminary and final site plan, the applicant seeks to construct a new university center. We have a resolution. Do I hear any motion for its adoption?
Question.
Yes.
Can you give us
You might need a microphone. We're also short in microphones tonight. Attaboy. Yes.
Can you give us a little more sense of what's happening with the committee that was set up to deal with the site issues?
I
It's
cannot.
my understanding, and Chris, you correct me if I'm wrong, that there was a proposal made by Higher Gruel following the meeting in December 18th. And was that when it was? Anyway, there was a proposal made by Higher Gruel about how the
Patrick, speak into the
landscaping and
microphone,
screening
please.
would be addressed, about how the landscaping and screening would be addressed, which were two issues which were left up to, in the resolution, left up to the board professionals to work out. That proposal has not been responded to by the applicant, but the condition about it, that it be worked out remains in the resolution.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I ask a question for the purposes, I'm sorry, I hate to go back to this question, but Danny is not a member at the moment. and Michael is not a member at the moment. I hate to ask this question, but are they allowed to be up here if they're not members?
They can
Be here on the days?
sit, but they can not participate. I assume Michael and Dr. Allen understand that we're in a bit of a bind here, and my apologies, the board's apologies to you. The board's apologies to you both for the way this has happened, but unfortunately, it's been my opinion that until that reappointment is made and done correctly, that you're unable to serve.
That's fine. So you want us to step down?
No.
Yeah, you can. Let him sit down. So that makes it clean, Tom.
Oh, you may step down then, yeah.
Okay.
Meaning, we'll see you next month.
What?
See you next month. yeah.
Listen, but it's not appropriate.
Or I may just sit in the audience.
You may.
And heckle? And
You're not going
heckle?
to throw vegetables, right? You're not going to throw vegetables, right?
I don't have it.
Okay. So, we are at the approval of resolution, case number 226, Seton Hall University, University Center, Block 1901, Lot 3, 400 South Orange Avenue. Preliminary and final site plan, the applicant seeks to construct a new university center. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the resolution? From a sitting board member?
I make a motion.
A second? Second. Roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Rosner,
Mr. Rosner.
Yes.
Mr. Warner,
Yes.
Mr. Hutt,
Yes?
Reverend Wilson, and Mr. Goldstein.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. The application to be heard for completeness, we have case number 233, Thomas McLaughlin, Block 1908, Lot 12, 19 Valley Street. It's a minor site plan. The applicant is seeking a variance from Section 92-198, existing nonconforming condition as to side setback, the south. Higher Grove, do you have an opinion on the completeness? That's correct.
Yes.
Move into that microphone, make sure it's on, please.
Okay, there it's on now. All right, we are recommending conditionally complete, and they are missing a few items that we think they should provide, one being the certified list of property owners. As soon as I get that, they provide that. The public hearing notification, of course, 10 days prior to a public hearing. They need to note on the plans that this property is in the Prospect Street Historic District. A statement from an engineer detailing any critical environmental areas, or simply stating that there are none. A lighting plan, a solid waste and recyclables plan, a digital copy of the site plans if that hasn't already been provided, a landscaping plan, and they showed the signage on the elevations. And that's what we are recommending. So we're recommending conditional completeness upon those items just said being provided 10 days before a hearing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Rob Simon, attorney for the applicant. I actually spoke to Ms. Gruhl, and we are in complete agreement with the contents of Higher Gruhl's memo dated January 28, 2014, and we intend to comply with all the conditions and submit everything 10 days prior to the hearing.
Okay. So, board, can I hear a motion on the completeness of this, the conditional completeness of this application?
So moved.
So moved. Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll hear you.
Thank you so much.
You get it in, thanks. Okay, next is case number 234, 1014 Academy Street Corporation. This is block 2013, lot 3. 14 Academy Street. This is a preliminary and final site plan. The applicant proposes to divide the premises into separate uses for a restaurant, continued use, and retail stores.
Stephen Geffner, representing the applicant. I've received Ms. Gruhl's memorandum, and we concur with the recommendation that she has made at the conclusion of her report.
Could you talk just a little more directly into your
Sure.
microphone?
We've received the report from Higher Gruhl, and we accept the recommendations and comments that she made at the conclusion of the report. We'll comply with all of those comments.
Okay. And what was your, can you summarize your finding?
Summarize that, it's almost the same thing as the previous application.
So conditional.
We recommend conditional completeness, provided they submit the certified list of property owners, notification of a public hearing, note on the site plans that it's within the Prospect Street Historic District, note the setback lines on the site plans, provide building elevations and detailed interior floor layouts, a solid waste and recyclables and collection and storage plan, a lighting plan, and a signage plan.
Okay,
And we do concur.
got a lot to do. All right, so board, can I hear
So moved.
So moved, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We will conditionally approve that for completeness. So the application to be heard now is case number S-15. Joseph Rispo and Larry Fish. This is, should we hear the discussion first? Do that?
What do you want to do?
That one first, and then take care of that?
Up to you. Up to you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to, you guys can start coming up, but before we do that, we're going to actually hear discussion of case number 229, Janet Youssef, care of San Giorgio Enterprises LLC. This is block 1005, lot 5, 52 Vos Avenue. This is a request for a minor change in a previously approved application. It was, as our protocol calls for, put before the a subcommittee, the site plan application subcommittee, the site plan subcommittee, and the subcommittee basically found that they were not significant changes and that they could be reviewed at the committee level and forwarded to the board for their approval and assent. And we sent this around to the board, and I didn't know if any of the board has any comments on it or they're okay with that.
My only question is what our authority is at this point to approve these changes. I mean, they seem fine on their face, but I just don't know technically what the proper process is and approval, method is for this change after an application's already been approved.
Right. So we've done this before for earlier applicants. And Pat, do you want to summarize maybe how that works?
Sure.
legally? Yeah.
Post-approval, the board sometimes is approached, as you know, actually the village gets approached to make a change, almost a field change in the construction. And if the board deems that to be not substantial change, they can simply allow it without having to go through the process of amending the approval.
So specifically, what are we doing? Are we voting on what? A resolution on a what? What's the formal mechanism?
The mechanism would simply, in my opinion, be a vote by the board whether or not it was a substantial change. If it's a substantial change, then they would have to come back and make an application to amend the approval they received.
You're basically voting on whether or not they can move forward with the changes with our knowledge, and as opposed to coming back and representing in a public hearing.
So are we approving both the fact that it's not a substantial change and the fact that we approve of the specific changes being proposed, or are we just...
Well, I think those would go hand in hand.
Yes.
Okay. I so move.
Or a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I think I formalized this with a letter. I'll put on village letterhead. We'll summarize the changes, summarize the board's opinion upon those changes, and we'll put that in the file. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, now, back to application case number S-15, Joseph Rispo and Larry Fish, block 201, lot 87, 549 Longview Road. The applicant is seeking a major soil disturbance permit. You've heard this before?
Yes.
We did?
This exact one to this property.
This one? Yeah.
My name is Joseph Rispo, and my partner is Larry Fish. We've been part of the South Orange Maplewood community since 1997 and have a design firm located in Millburn. Over the years, we've lived in both towns and have renovated a number of homes for ourselves and for our clients in the area. I have a master's degree of architecture from NJIT and 19 years of experience working for architectural firms, myself specializing in residential design.
I'm sorry, we don't want to interrupt you, but we have to swear you in.
I'm sorry?
Could we swear you in, please?
Since you're not professionals per se.
Would you raise your right hand?
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give to this board is the whole truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Joseph Rispo, 62 Larkin Circle, West Orange.
Thank you.
Do you want to, both of you want to swear in at this point? Will you be testifying, will you be presenting anything?
No, he won't.
Okay. All right, don't say anything then.
Should I swear in just in case?
Just swear him in anyway, just in case.
Good idea.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give this board this evening is the whole truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Larry Fish, 62 Larkin Circle, West Orange, New Jersey.
Thank you. All right, now, start over. Thanks.
Well, I could start, so you know who I am, and so we are the designers and potential owners of the property. Our purchase of the property is actually contingent on the approval of the soils disturbance permit. So basically, the design of this dwelling and the development of the site was driven by three factors. To begin with, the property was subdivided in 2001 from 186 Crestwood Drive. As such, there is a deed restriction that limits the height of any proposed structure to the elevation of 576 feet. That was done mainly to preserve the views of the property of origin to the west. Secondly, the design is defined by the township's zoning ordinances. And the third factor, which fundamentally defines the design, is the unique topography and the natural characteristics of the site. This happens to be a steep slope site with tight contours running north to south. There is also a rock outcropping located fairly central within the allowable building setback. So after a lot of careful planning, we feel this design has achieved a balance between all three factors. It respects the deed restriction, it adheres to all the zoning ordinances, and in response to the site itself, we designed the dwelling to be mainly shallow in depth with a low roof profile. The plan is also linear, and it runs parallel to the topographical contours. So when you put those factors together, it allows the dwelling to nestle into the hillside more horizontally, so in a more organic way. Also central to the design and its response to the site is how we established the elevations of each floor. The garage, ground floor, and first floor elevations were designed to work as much as possible with the existing grades. We did this by stepping each level to minimize excavation and soils disturbance, while still allowing the house to address the street on the east side of the property and the yard to the west side of the property. I think it's important to note that a previous soils disturbance permit for this property was granted in 2009, and by comparison, the current application represents a dramatic decrease in the overall impact to the site. We have a chart here that just shows, I'll just run through it quickly. If you compare this application to the previous application, it represents roughly a 22% decrease in the footprint of the dwelling, 28.6 decrease in the average height, a 51% decrease in the square footage of the house. Also, there's over 50% decrease in the linear footage of potential retaining walls. But I think the most dramatic decrease, there's a 77% decrease in the estimated amount of earthworks disturbance. So I think that together, those numbers, again, highlight the fact that fundamentally as designers, we were really trying to work with the characteristics of the site and its context. Lastly, all proposed excavation work will be performed mechanically with no blasting by experienced contractors who specialize in the development of similar sites. And that's my presentation. If you have any questions.
Pardon? They haven't offered them, but
They're reading it.
do you want to offer those exhibits?
I don't know what what you mean.
Would you like the board to consider those as part of the application?
Yes.
Is the plan that's on the easel in color the same as the plan that was submitted?
Yes.
Is it just that sheet, or is it more than one?
What's new to us, the project data sheet?
Oh, yes.
So you want to, let's make that an exhibit, shall we?
But the one on the easel in color is the same as the one submitted to, the one on the easel in color is the same as the one submitted to the board? It's just
Yes, it
that it's
is.
in color?
Yes, it is.
So we're going to mark that as A1, please? Okay?
Okay.
And then the one that's underneath, which shows apparently the side elevation?
The floor plans and elevations, yes, that was also submitted. Mhm.
Okay. We're going to mark that as A2, Mario? The one underneath? Nope, the other one, I'm sorry.
The drawing.
Yes. The big one is A2. And could you please describe for us what the third exhibit is?
The third exhibit is, it's a simple chart showing a comparison of the previous application, which was approved in 2009, with some data comparing it to the current application.
Okay, anything else?
Pardon?
Anything else? Okay. Any questions from the board? Sal, can you do me a favor? Can you just summarize for us what this application, they're back here because the previous soil disturbance it does go with the property, or it's expired?
Well, the previously approved soil disturbance permit was, as they described, basically a different layout, different locations for the walls.
Right.
The original plan didn't have the swimming pool in the back, the lap pool that's shown on here. The volume of disturbance is somewhat different, but in a different area. So they basically had to come back to the board because there's different walls in slightly different locations. The previous application, the major concern was runoff from the site. Concerns from the neighbors at the time about water being directed down the hill, possibly across the street. What the applicant has provided here is a pretty significant drainage plan to control the runoff. I think the plan that they provided is adequate. I think it's going to do a good job in mitigating any concerns in that regard. Aside from that, the only other concern is the construction, the type of work, the type of construction that's going to be done, and as indicated by the applicant, they're going to be using mechanical devices. It'll be loud, but it won't be any blasting or anything that's going to...
Mechanical devices to remove the rock.
To remove the rock, yeah. So the plan as submitted, I don't see any major issues with the plan at all. I think it's well designed, from an engineering standpoint, from a grading standpoint. I think they've done a good job in controlling the runoff. They also have a professional engineer on board that's going to be designing the retaining walls and designing the structures themselves to be sure that they hold up and that everything lasts. Yeah.
Does Higher Grule, did you guys issue a report on this application?
No, we did not review this, so I'm happy to make some comments now if you would like me to, but I've not seen this until tonight.
Well, maybe we'll wait. Is the engineer going to testify tonight for us?
Not unless you have specific questions.
So, what? Yeah,
What the ordinance talks about, Mr. Chairman, is whether or not they're importing soil, and it appears there is no importing in soil, right?
Correct.
And that the method of taking soil from the site is going to be, according to your letter, by truck. Is that correct? And do we know the route, Sal? I think the ordinance talks about what route will be taken. Have they identified that?
The applications was Longview to Glenview to South Orange Avenue to Pleasant Valley Way to 280 West.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Sal, and the drainage is fine?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think given the fact that the property's on a slope, I'd like to hear, I trust you, Sal, generally, but I think it's worth it, at least for the public record, to hear some discussion of the drainage and how that's going to be handled. And I Again, and I would just like, for the purpose of discussion, as I think it's part of the removal, to hear about the methods that you're going to be using to, excavate and so forth in order to remove rock or soil from the site. So while I'm sure that it'll all be perfectly acceptable, I just think it's something that should be heard for the record as well.
So yes, okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give here this evening is the whole truth?
Yes.
Can you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Mario Ainelli. I'm the manager of land development services at Dewberry, 600 Parsippany Road, Parsippany, New Jersey. Just want to make sure I get your... Do you want me to go through?
Mr. Ainelli, you've previously been a witness before this board?
Yes.
Qualified as an expert in engineering?
Yes.
Last summer?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You still have a license in engineering that's good in the state of New Jersey?
Yes. I think the easiest way to answer your question is just to run through the plan. The plan was designed, there was a lot of iteration back and forth between myself and the architect. It was a challenging site, and what we decided to do is try to maintain or limit the disturbance as much as possible. And the way we accomplish that, if you notice, is that the driveway comes up, there's a level area in the bottom of the driveway and the top of the driveway, and then basically we try to create a stepping effect within the building. So the garage is at one level, then it goes up to another level, and then it goes up again, and it's trying to take advantage of the natural topography. The previous plan basically created a level plateau and had very large excavations in the rear of the property. We are not looking to do that. Mr. Rispo's intent throughout this whole process was to try to minimize the impact to the property. He went through some numbers of how, when you look at the previous approval to now, how much we have reduced it. Now, if you're familiar with the site, the drainage, does this come off? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. The drainage, basically, I'm referring to A1. The drainage basically flows from a westerly direction down towards Longview. That's the way it drains currently now. So what we did was, in the areas that we're not disturbing, we're going to basically leave alone. It's the best thing you can do when it comes to runoff and controlling runoff. But where the patio is located in the rear of the building, there will be roughly an 8-foot retaining wall that will then have grading going back to the property line, and there is going to be a small swale or ditch behind the retaining wall. On top of that, we put in a perforated pipe system that will be there also that will catch any runoff. The runoff will be then directed around the house in a pipe network, anywhere from 8 to 12-inch pipes, that would ultimately go down to the driveway, and then the driveway would also be collected with a 1, 2, 3 small catch basins, and then also a trench drain will be placed at the end. So very little uncontrolled runoff, other than what's not being touched from the development, is going to come off the site. It will be collected, and then it discharges directly into an existing catch basin. So it's a pretty extensive drainage system for a residential house, but it's a pretty unique property. So it had to be done because Mr. Rispo doesn't want to invest this kind of money and have drainage problems or water cascading over the wall. So this was designed to prevent that from happening and also preventing it from impacting downstream areas.
So the water that comes off the drive gets what, picked up where?
The driveway?
Yeah.
It got 1, 2, 3 inlets that are on the
drive slope to those inlets?
Right. It's sloped, cross slope to it, and then whatever gets by those has a trench drain on the bottom that goes across the driveway. So if it gets by those 3 inlets, it's going to get picked up by a trench drain.
Can you, in the section of that's down below, can you show us that swale and the retaining wall in the rear of the property? The drawn? Is it there in the lower right-hand corner? Is that, I can't see it that far.
Well, the section that he shows here, I'm referring to A2. You see the retaining wall here?
Right.
The grading here is a little more, I'll say, it's a little more diagrammatic on the section.
Okay.
If you look at the grading itself, which is a little easier to explain.
It's a little gentler.
It's a 3-to-1 slope coming down, which is, the steepest you want to go with and still be stable. And then what you do is you kind of increase the height of the wall a little bit, and what you create is you have a slope, and then you create a little high spot, and then you create a little swale. I don't expect a lot of runoff. Looking at the topography, I'm estimating that a portion of the house, if it's splash blocks behind us, and the yard drains into the back of this, because some of the front of that property goes to the street in front of it. So it's not going to see a tremendous amount of runoff, but we always say that, and we get these flash kind of rains that are happening 1-2 inches in a very short time. So we thought it was important not only to put a drain system in, which would be a perforated pipe and a stone bed, which would absolutely, almost like a cutoff trench. On top of that, there will be a small swale. So there's very little chance that it's going to skip over that wall.
So it'll just stay there until it drains off.
Right. Even if it...
Is that grade to the west all going to be regraded? Is that reworked?
This here?
Yeah.
Yes.
So in terms of actual disturbance on the property, it's almost the entire property.
What I'm highlighting here is a darker green shade you see here and here.
Yeah.
That's the intention of what we're not going to disturb. The lighter green is the disturbance area. The disturbance area, which will require a soil conservation permit, because it's over 5,000 square feet, is noted on the plan as 12,500 square feet. So it's roughly a quarter of an acre, where the property is roughly a half an acre.
And I'll stop asking questions, but on the north side there, where the dashed line is by the house there, from the edge of the house, the wall, to the darker green line,
Yes.
how much is that? How many feet is that?
It's rough from, I'm going to point to it from here to here.
Yeah.
That's roughly 5 to 8 feet.
Yeah.
The
So
wall
a typical foundation wall cutback, I mean, when you build foundation walls and you're building a house, aren't you at like about 10 feet in order just to get your trenching in? And
Well, this wall is the actual wall of the building is going to be the retaining wall. One of the things how we eliminated some of these walls, the slope is going to work up that wall.
it's going to have a footing, right?
Right.
Yeah, so you're going to have to excavate for the footing.
Yes. So, I mean, we have roughly 8 feet. I mean, could it go up? Could it go down a little bit? Yeah. I mean, we're going to try to minimize the disturbance, though.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about the methods of disturbance?
Well, there's going to be traditional excavation with a backhoe. But anybody who's been to the site can see the rock outcrop. And talking to Joe, the construction is going to be done with basically a hydraulic hammer that's going to chip away at the rock. It's not going to be blasted. The excavation in this area here, if you see the existing topo here is roughly 570. The patio's at 563, so we're only going down like 7 to 10 feet, and then the pool, obviously, still a lot, but very little compared to what was originally proposed. I mean, what was proposed here was plus 20 feet, so it can be. That was one of the reasons why I think it was more of a concern, because the deeper you go into the rock, the harder it tends to chip away at times because you get less fracture in that rock. So. But you're going to have your traditional excavation, your traditional backhoe. Some of this rock may be rippable. What I mean by that is an excavator may just be able to pull it off. Some of it's going to be chipped away.
I remember this application. We spent a long time on it. Is it that much better now that we're not agonizing over it? Okay.
But I want to hear you state it for the record. There will be no blasting. If methods, I just want to say this. If the methods described in the application, in what is it, Section D of the application, do not achieve what you hope to achieve, for whatever reason, you are not going to blast under any circumstances.
If that happened, I think we'll be back in front of you, because there'll be a condition saying we can't blast. So,
Okay, that's
I don't know how else we can put it.
No, that's pretty straightforward. I just want it in the record for now that that's not a part of it. If you have to come back, you have to come back, and then we can talk about it then.
Right.
But I just want to make sure at this point, that's what we're saying.
We do not anticipate it, and it was designed to avoid it.
Okay. Okay. How loud do you think that, the various devices are going to be? The 50,000-pound excavator hammering, loosening, and excavating the rock. I mean, how loud is that?
I mean, how loud is it? I don't think it's going to, the rock excavation is only going to be up front. Once it gets to, they get the footings poured and they get into the stick building and whatever else, it's going to be your typical construction site. But it's going to be, I can't describe it other than the fact that it's going to sound like a loud hammer hitting the rock, because that's how it works. It's basically a hydraulic hammer that pounds on the rock.
And remind me what the hours are for construction or for doing the work, what's permissible in the township?
Whatever they are, they'll comply with them. I mean, if there's hours that they can't start before 7 and can't work after a certain time, they're obviously going to comply with those.
Okay.
Are there limitations on mechanical hammering versus normal construction?
There are limitations. Off the top of my head, I don't recall what the hours are, but there are limitations in the hours.
Limitations being in the hours that they can
I would
do the work?
imagine.
Yeah.
The hours, I think the hours of construction are in the ordinance.
But I don't know whether there are even additional restrictions to mechanical hammering, which obviously produces more noise.
I would think whatever the conditions are would be something
They
the
will.
applicant would be
Okay.
obligated to abide by.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anything else?
Yeah, Tom. Was there any thought given to using chemical means to break up the rock or anything like that?
Well, as a site civil engineer, my intent was to try to minimize it. I know Joe has been talking to a excavator that does this for a living, and his opinion from speaking to Joe is the hammering would be the best way. Again, because we limited the amount of excavation. I don't know what they're gonna find as they go out there. So they're gonna use what they would perceive the best means possible that's allowed within general construction practice. I've never.
You know what I'm referring to, like where you
Yeah.
put these expansive chemicals to break things.
It's similar to fracturing. But that's something that's very expensive usually, and it may not be warranted on a smaller project like this. But I know that the intent was to minimize it, and I know that Joe has worked very closely throughout this whole process with a actual contractor to try, and he's actually had input when we were developing this to try to minimize it. So, I mean, all we can say is that we will try to, and it's going to be short-lived, the hammering. It's going to be relatively short, and then they'll move on to the regular construction, which would be simply a stick-type construction, which is similar to every construction project that's going on.
Since you said it, how long is short-lived?
It depends. It depends on what you, I mean, it just depends.
So it
I
could
know
be
it's hard to
long-lived.
answer.
Depends how short the short is.
Normal house is going to take how long to construct, you think, the house? Yeah. Yeah, I would think that you're looking at, and this is an educated guess, you're probably talking about a number of weeks to get through the initial excavation. I wouldn't suspect it would be more than that.
Okay.
I mean, it's a rather small site.
Okay. Board, any other questions for these witnesses?
Did you want to hear from the planner? He said he maybe had some comments to offer.
They didn't, oh.
We didn't review anything. If you have any specific questions for me, I'm happy to answer those, but
No,
I didn't actually review these.
No, I know that, but I thought you said earlier that you might have some thoughts to offer. That's why I was bringing it up.
No, I don't have any comments,
Okay.
no.
Okay. So, Board, if there are no other questions for these witnesses, ask if there's any questions from the public. No? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We will consider it. Do I hear any motions?
I move that we approve the major soil disturbance permit for this project. The only condition that I can think of is the one I referred to concerning that without the excavation be done without blasting. I mean, everything else is prescribed into law, so I don't think it needs to be elaborated on or repeated here. So that would be my motion, unless somebody thinks I've missed something.
Anybody?
But I second.
I have second.
Adam seconded.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, the blasting.
You need to
statute-
speak into your microphone.
The blasting statute in New Jersey. The blasting statute in New Jersey is a state statute, and what they say in the state statute is that we're in control of blasting. All of you municipalities are not. Therefore, it's really outside the jurisdiction of this board. Many boards do try to regulate it, and I think what's happened here is the applicant has stipulated that it will not blast, and that would be acceptable.
Okay.
Consistent with the applicant's stipulation.
Well put. All right, we take a roll call.
Okay, Mr. Colton-Max?
Yes.
Trustee Warner?
Yes.
Rosner, sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Larner?
Yes.
Mr. Hutt?
Yes.
Mr. Miller? Ooh, not Mr. Miller, sorry. Reverend Wilson? Yes. And Mr. Goldstein?
Yes.
Okay, do a good job, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Be quiet.
Yeah, we keep
Yes.
All right. The Turner application is still carried to HPC, right? Pending, right? Jetty, that's what it says. Carried pending HPC, is that right? I'm not hearing that. All right. So we are done for tonight. Yes, Mark.
Are you coming to the next meeting, or this your last meeting?
Do I have to decide?
No, you just have to tell me.
I think I may come to the next meeting and kind of clear things up better.
Appreciate it.
All right, so with this, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody. Board, thank you very much. Sorry for all the confusion, and we are adjourned.
No confusion.